Have you ever wondered what the final days of King Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, were really like? We'll uncover the fascinating story of Solomon's later life, his struggles with faith, and his powerful journey of repentance. This exploration reveals the wisdom he gained from his mistakes and the lessons he left behind for us today. In this video, we'll dive into the closing chapters of Solomon's life, reflecting on the choices that led him away from God and the repentance that brought him back. You'll discover timeless insights into how even the wisest can fall, but also how true wisdom lies in returning to God with a humble heart. These lessons can inspire your own spiritual growth, offering guidance on faith, humility, and the pursuit of genuine wisdom. Are you ready to learn from the final reflections of a king who had it all, lost his way, and found his purpose once again? How can Solomon's journey of repentance and wisdom guide you in your own life? Stay with us as we explore the powerful legacy of Solomon's final days and the wisdom they hold for us all. Let's begin this journey into the heart of true wisdom. At the beginning of his reign, Solomon was known for one remarkable request. He asked God for wisdom rather than wealth, power, or a long life. In response, God granted him unparalleled wisdom, along with blessings of wealth and influence. This wisdom became evident in Solomon's judgments, like the famous case of two women claiming to be the mother of the same baby. His decision to test their reactions revealed the true mother, demonstrating his wisdom and fairness. Stories of Solomon's wisdom spread quickly, and he became famous throughout Israel and even among surrounding nations. One of Solomon's greatest accomplishments was the construction of the Temple in Jerusalem. This grand structure, built to honor God, became the center of worship for the people of Israel and a symbol of their devotion. The temple was not only a religious focal point but also a representation of Israel's prosperity and unity under Solomon's rule. It stood as a testament to God's presence among his people and the special relationship between God and Israel during this time of peace and success. Solomon's wisdom extended beyond his judgments and leadership. It is also reflected in the writings attributed to him in the Bible, particularly in the books of Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon. Proverbs, for example, contains many sayings that emphasize practical wisdom, discipline, and respect for God. Phrases like, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge," highlight the importance of reverence for God as the foundation of a wise life. Through these writings, Solomon's insights into life, relationships, and integrity continue to guide readers. The teachings in Proverbs cover a wide range of topics, from honesty and humility to the dangers of laziness and pride. These timeless lessons were meant to help individuals live a life that reflects God's wisdom. Ecclesiastes, another work attributed to Solomon, reflects his reflections on the meaning of life and the pursuit of lasting happiness. In this book, Solomon explores the futility of worldly achievements and urges readers to find purpose beyond wealth and status in their relationship with God. Solomon's wisdom attracted leaders and dignitaries from many nations, including the famous visit from the Queen of Sheba. She came to test Solomon with hard questions and was impressed not only by his knowledge but also by the prosperity of his kingdom. This encounter further solidified Solomon's reputation as a wise and capable leader. His kingdom enjoyed peace and stability, largely due to his wise governance, making Israel a respected and prosperous nation. Solomon's wisdom and the grandeur of his kingdom were unparalleled in Israel's history. His request for wisdom shaped his reign and his legacy, and his writings continue to influence readers seeking guidance. The temple he built stood as a physical and spiritual symbol of God's blessing on Israel, and his teachings in Proverbs and Ecclesiastes remind us of the importance of wisdom rooted in faith. Solomon's early reign set a powerful example of what it means to lead with humility, insight, and dedication to God. As Solomon's reign progressed, he made alliances with many foreign nations, often sealing these partnerships by marrying foreign princesses. Although these marriages helped maintain peace and strengthen Israel's political ties, they also introduced foreign influences that gradually led Solomon away from God. Many of his wives worshipped other gods, and over time, they encouraged Solomon to join them in these practices. This exposure to idolatry marked the beginning of a spiritual decline, as Solomon allowed the worship of other gods within Israel, which was against God's command. As Solomon began to adopt some of these foreign practices, his spiritual focus shifted. The man who had once been known for his dedication and wisdom began to compromise his values. His heart, once solely devoted to God, became divided as he sought to please his many wives by supporting their beliefs. This gradual shift pulled Solomon away from the strong spiritual foundation that had once guided his rule, and he became more influenced by worldly desires than by his commitment to God. This loss of focus on God affected not only Solomon personally but also the spiritual integrity of the nation. The people of Israel looked up to their king as a role model, and his acceptance of idolatrous practices set a dangerous example. As idolatry spread throughout the land, Israel began to stray from the covenant relationship with God that had been its foundation. This led to a moral decline, and the people started to lose their distinct identity as a nation devoted to the Lord. The Bible describes how God became displeased with Solomon's actions. Despite God's clear instructions against idolatry, Solomon's decisions showed a lack of respect for these boundaries. In response, God warned Solomon that his kingdom would suffer because of his choices. Prophecies began to emerge, foretelling the division of Israel after Solomon's death. Although God did not take the kingdom from Solomon himself, he declared that it would be divided under his son's rule, leading to a weakened and fractured nation. This prophecy signaled the end of Israel's unified golden age. Solomon's choices had sown seeds of division, and once he passed away, the kingdom would split into two parts, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. This division would weaken the nation, making it more vulnerable to outside forces and internal strife. The legacy of wisdom and prosperity that Solomon had built began to crumble due to his failure to remain faithful to God. Solomon's story teaches us that even the wisest and most successful people are susceptible to temptation and failure. His alliances and gradual acceptance of idolatry led to his downfall and had lasting consequences for Israel. His life serves as a reminder of the importance of staying focused on God, regardless of external influences. Solomon's downfall shows that when we compromise our values and allow ourselves to be led astray, the effects can be far-reaching, impacting not only our lives but also those we lead and influence. In his final days, Solomon reflected deeply on his life and the mistakes he had made. After years of straying from God due to idolatry and the influences of foreign alliances, he began to understand the consequences of his actions. Realizing the emptiness of his pursuits and the impact of his choices, Solomon turned back to God in a spirit of repentance. This change of heart marked a return to the values he had once held dear, as he acknowledged his failures and sought forgiveness. The book of Ecclesiastes is often seen as a reflection of Solomon's journey of repentance and humility. In it, Solomon shares his experiences and observations on life's meaning, warning readers about the futility of chasing worldly pleasures, wealth, and status. He famously describes these pursuits as vanity and chasing after the wind, conveying the idea that material success without a focus on God is ultimately empty. Ecclesiastes reveals a man who has learned through his own missteps that true purpose comes from a relationship with God. In Ecclesiastes, Solomon's tone is one of wisdom mixed with regret. He recognizes the fleeting nature of life and advises others to remember their Creator in their youth, emphasizing that lasting fulfillment is found only in God. This book captures the wisdom of a man who has experienced both the highs of success and the lows of spiritual emptiness. His reflections serve as a guide, urging readers to pursue meaning that goes beyond temporary achievements. Solomon's repentance, even at the end of his life, carries a powerful message. Although he had drifted far from his original devotion, his return to God reminds us that it's never too late to correct our paths. His story teaches that repentance is not about erasing past mistakes, but about acknowledging them and realigning with God's purpose. Solomon's final reflections highlight the importance of humility, honesty, and a willingness to change, regardless of one's past. The impact of Solomon's repentance extends beyond his own life. By recording his reflections and regrets, he left a legacy of wisdom that continues to speak to people today. His teachings remind us that even in the face of failure, there is value in turning back to God. Through Ecclesiastes, Solomon's journey of repentance serves as a reminder that life's greatest achievements are meaningless without a foundation in faith and purpose. Solomon's final days were marked by reflection, humility, and a renewed commitment to God. His legacy in Ecclesiastes provides a roadmap for those seeking true purpose, teaching that a life centered on God brings lasting peace. Solomon's repentance underscores the importance of staying grounded in faith, showing that the search for wisdom begins and ends with God. His story encourages us all to seek meaning beyond material success, finding purpose in our connection to the divine. The story of Solomon serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of staying faithful to God, no matter the circumstances. Solomon started his life dedicated to God, seeking wisdom and following His guidance. But as he grew in wealth and influence, he allowed outside forces and personal desires to lead him astray. His life illustrates that even the most blessed and gifted individuals are not immune to temptation. Solomon's journey teaches us that true success lies in maintaining a faithful relationship with God, regardless of life's challenges. A major theme in Ecclesiastes, one of Solomon's final writings, is the idea that worldly achievements are ultimately vanity without a greater purpose. Throughout his life, Solomon experienced vast riches, power, and pleasure. Yet, in the end, he recognized that these pursuits are fleeting and often empty. Ecclesiastes encourages us to look beyond temporary accomplishments and instead seek a purpose that aligns with God. This reminder is relevant for all of us today, urging us to focus on things that have eternal value rather than those that fade away. Solomon's story also highlights the importance of repentance and humility. In his later years, Solomon acknowledged his mistakes and turned back to God. This act of repentance demonstrates that no matter how far we may stray, we can always return to God's grace. Solomon's humility in recognizing his failings teaches us that repentance is not a sign of weakness but of strength and maturity. It's a necessary part of spiritual growth and a pathway to reconnecting with God. The wisdom of Solomon's writings speaks to the reality of human nature, the desires, mistakes, and struggles we all face. His reflections show that while human pursuits often lead to disappointment, a life grounded in faith brings true peace and fulfillment. Solomon's journey encourages us to examine our own lives and consider what truly matters. It's a call to pursue a life of integrity and purpose, grounded in our relationship with God. One of the most valuable lessons we can draw from Solomon's life is the need to guard our hearts and minds. His story reminds us to be mindful of the influences around us and to remain committed to our spiritual beliefs. Solomon's shift away from God was gradual, a reminder that we need to stay vigilant in our faith. Staying true to God requires daily dedication, an awareness of our choices, and a desire to keep God at the center of our lives. Solomon's life provides timeless lessons on faith, humility, and purpose. His story is a guide for those seeking wisdom in today's complex world, encouraging us to focus on values that transcend temporary achievements. Solomon's journey reminds us that faithfulness to God, repentance, and a purpose-driven life are keys to true wisdom. His example urges us to pursue a life that honors God and reflects a deeper understanding of what truly matters. In this video, we've explored the journey of King Solomon, from his early days as a wise and faithful leader through his period of moral decline to his final reflections and repentance. We discussed how Solomon's reign was marked by remarkable wisdom, wealth, and achievements, but also by the pitfalls of idolatry and influence from foreign alliances. His story serves as a profound example of how even the wisest among us can falter and the lasting consequences of losing focus on God. One of the key takeaways from Solomon's life is the importance of faithfulness. Despite his mistakes, Solomon's repentance in his later years shows us the power of turning back to God. His writings, especially in Ecclesiastes, reveal the emptiness of worldly pursuits and point to a higher purpose found only in God. Through his journey, we see that true wisdom and fulfillment come not from wealth or accomplishments, but from a life rooted in faith and purpose. Solomon's story also reminds us that repentance and humility are essential. His return to God teaches that no matter how far we may have wandered, it's never too late to seek forgiveness and realign with God's will. His humility in acknowledging his mistakes and his reflections on life's purpose continue to inspire us to lead lives of meaning and integrity. As we reflect on the lessons from Solomon's life, we are reminded to stay vigilant in our own spiritual journeys. Solomon's experiences encourage us to guard our hearts and to be mindful of the influences around us, prioritizing our relationship with God above all. His life serves as a guide, urging us to pursue values that are eternal and meaningful. Thank you for watching and joining us on this exploration of Solomon's legacy. If you found these insights valuable, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share in the comments what you found most impactful about Solomon's story and how it relates to your own life. We hope Solomon's journey inspires you to seek wisdom, remain faithful, and remember the importance of repentance and humility. Let's continue to learn from these powerful biblical stories and apply their lessons in our lives today.